We might. Dig deep, brother, dig deep, right? Good evening, everyone. The hour being 7 p.m. on Monday, February 26th. I'd like to call to order the City of Laconia City Council meeting. Before we go any further, though, I'd ask Councilor Cheney if he would be so kind to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Happily. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. How are you tonight? We're joined this evening by our recording secretary, Stacy Anders, and I'd ask her to please call the roll.
Councilor Cheney,
Here.
Councilor Saucy,
Here.
Councilor Hoffman,
Present.
Councilor Haynes,
Here.
Councilor Bogart,
Here.
and Councilor Felch.
Here.
Mayor Hosmer.
Here, thank you. We're also joined this evening by City Manager Kirk Beatty, as well as Glenn Smith, Finance Director of the City of Laconia. Agenda item number 7, which is acceptance of minutes from previous meetings. Item number 7A, City Agenda, regular meeting minutes of February 12th, 2024. Minutes of the Laconia City Council meeting for that date were distributed to members of the City Council on February 16th. With no corrections or changes submitted to the clerk, the minutes will be accepted as distributed. Agenda item number 8. Item 8A, request to approve a temporary traffic order 2024-01, the Laconia Little League Parade. A request for this temporary traffic order for the Laconia Little League Parade to be held on Saturday, April 20th, 2024, with a rain date, if necessary, of Saturday, April 27th, 2024, from 7:45 a.m. to 9 a.m. has been received. This is a recurring request with no changes from the previous years. Right now, I'll be looking for a motion to approve temporary traffic order 2024-01 for the Laconia Little League Parade held on April 20th, 2024, from 7:45 a.m. to 9 a.m. So made by Councilor Felch, seconded by Councilor Susi. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. 6 votes in the affirmative. That motion passes. Agenda item number 8B, which is request from the Weirs Action Committee to hold summer concerts on the boardwalk. The Weirs Action Committee has requested permission to use the boardwalk to provide free jazz band concerts. If approved, the concerts will take place on Sunday nights in late June, July, and August from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. The band will play under a 10 by 20 pop-up tent, which will be put in place no earlier than 2 hours prior to each performance, removed no later than 1 hour after each performance. The band will play at the center of the wide section of the boardwalk facing the street and will use the same electrical receptacles that are used by vendors during Laconia Motorcycle Week. The Special Events Review Commission approved this request at their February 7th, 2024 meeting. I anticipate there'll be music as well as dancing. So we'd be right now be looking for a motion to move to approve the request from the Weirs Action Committee to hold their summer concerts on the boardwalk on Sunday nights in late June, July, and August 2024, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. So made by Councilor Cheney, seconded by Councilor Felch. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. 6 votes in the affirmative. That motion passes. Right now, agenda item number 9, citizens' comments for matters not on the agenda. If there are citizens here who would like to speak to matters not on the agenda, now would be the appropriate time. Welcome. Whoa. Stay up.
Good evening, I'm Dean Anson. This is Deb Williams. I'm the chairman of the Conservation Commission, and Deb is the vice chair. And we wanted to share with you what our goals and our objectives are for this year, so that you're aware of what we're doing, and you can give us feedback as to other things that you would like to see added to what we're doing.
Is there a copy, is there a written copy for us?
There
or
is.
slide? Is there for everyone, or?
Yes.
Could you pass it out? Maybe if you don't mind, we can follow along with you if you're comfortable with that.
Sure. So I don't want to go into all the details that are there. I just wanted to, we wanted to tell you that what we are going to be doing is we're going to be collecting water samples, which we have done for probably 15 years in Paugus Bay, the tributaries that flow into Paugus Bay. We have those samples submitted for laboratory analysis, and what we try to do is see what the trend is in terms of the water quality. The other thing we are working on, again, is milfoil, and our milfoil work is at least a couple different parts. One is we look for a lake host to be at the Messer Street ramp to check the boats going in and out of the lake to make sure they don't have any invasive species like milfoil, and we now have a couple of others too. And the other thing we do is we work with the contractors to make sure that when they do their diving and hand pulling of milfoil, and when they apply herbicides. And so Deb and I are going to meet with Amy Shmagula, who is the state limnologist who does a design and sampling of the various lakes in the state to determine where herbicides need to be applied on a broader range, and hand pulling in other areas where it's more sporadic. So those are our goals and objectives for this year, and as you probably know, we meet the first and third Wednesday of every month, and it's an open meeting, so we would encourage you to attend just to see what we're doing.
Thanks, Dean and Deb, for your work on the Conservation Committee. When's the last time your committee, has taken samples from the lakes and tributary waters of Winnipesaukee, Winnisquam, and Opeechee? Is that something you've been doing, and if so, when, and what was generally the results?
We sample
That's
roughly
late
from
summer. Yeah.
from June to September.
Done in 2023?
Yes.
And is there some results you can share with us?
I think the trend is that the water quality is good, and there are concerns that we have, but we look at the different tributaries that are flowing in. We have 7 different tributaries that we sample, and then we collect a deep water sample in the middle of Paugus Bay, and that's done with the water department.
Terrific.
So, anything else?
Yeah, I mean, the water quality has been consistent. You can definitely see a change when there is more activity on the lakes. When there are more boating, you can see as far as turbidity and that kind of thing, so. It's good to keep an eye on.
Any questions from councilors? Councilor Cheney.
If I might, I think what you've done on the lakes has been above average, above good for us. But I've received complaints, Pickerel Cove on the north end, Pickerel Pond, and some of those places. Are you intending to look at waters other than, the major bays or lakes?
I talked to Amy the other day, and she's going to describe to us what her plans are for putting herbicides in Pickerel Cove and Molten Cove. She's really the expert when it comes to determining where we need to do herbicides. Now, she hasn't done anything with regard to Pickerel Cove, but when we talk to her on Wednesday, we'll certainly bring that up and see, because that's a separate water body. That the outfall for that is down Collins Brook into Winnisquam. So what we do is we coordinate the sampling and the analytical techniques with the Opeechee Preservation Association and with Winnisquam Watershed Network. So all of us are doing the same analysis and roughly the same period of time.
I don't question any of that. At least my observations have been, it's outstanding. I'm questioning smaller bodies and beyond what you've done now, are you looking to expand to check waters in other?
We do Pickerel Cove, because there is a tributary that comes into that.
Yep.
So we do that body there. We haven't done Pickerel Pond. We could expand there.
And there's one or two others, I'm told, smaller ponds around the city. I'm just hoping I could encourage you to at least make a sampling of it per year.
We'd be open to hearing about any concerns that anyone has.
Okay.
Because we could definitely
I
look
can
into
forward
that.
that to you, but
Yeah.
I have gotten from Pickerel Pond
Okay.
and Pickerel Cove particularly, so.
Right.
But I'd like to see us expand into other smaller bodies of water, just even if it's only once a year,
Sure.
to see how it's doing compared to last year type of thing.
The sampling is relatively, the laboratory analysis is relatively inexpensive.
Yep.
It's if we find milfoil,
I understand. I do.
that's a Pandora's box.
But the problem becomes if you find it early, it's a lot cheaper than if we leave it to go and then have to deal with it. I
That's
guess,
true.
where I'm
That's
at.
true.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, any other questions?
Mr. Mayor.
Counselor Susie?
Dean, we spoke a couple of weeks ago in reference to the budget item that you brought up to me, that you were gonna be shortfall based upon what was in the budget. And I did speak to the city manager, and he assured me that we will have the funds to be able to take care of that. So you can move along with, I think you already know that, but I mean, move along with doing that. And then we talked a little bit about Lafayette Street. And could you explain that again to me, what we have there at the end of the street where the water department has some property they've used for a while?
The Lafayette property is of interest because a portion of it is a vernal pool, and vernal pools are seasonal water bodies that are in existence particularly in the spring, and there are a lot of frogs and turtles and aquatic life that will live there, start out there as eggs, mature, and then leave. But they're important to preserve the water quality in the sense that, you know, the water from there goes into the ground and winds up in a lake at some place. We don't know where the one in Lafayette goes. But in terms of the buffer that the city has around the vernal pool, it's a 100-foot buffer. And the majority of that, no, not majority, a good portion of that property on Lafayette would be either in the vernal pool or in the buffer.
Okay, so I don't know the answer to this, and I'm glad our planning director and the city manager are here, but you don't think that would be then really something we want to develop as a billable place?
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. And in terms of when we meet with, the reason we're meeting with Amy Shmagula on Wednesday is to see if we can tighten up the budget for this year.
For milfoil treatment.
For milfoil, and there's some other invasives, aquatic invasives, that we could also, if we can tighten it up and save the city some money, that would work for me.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Neil.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. Thank you, Deb, for your work. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
And anytime you guys have questions about anything that we do or want to hear more from us, we'd be happy to come and do a presentation.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Come on.
Good evening. My name is Martha Cruz. I'm here as an individual citizen of Laconia, and I would like to address the City Council this evening about the upcoming sale of the former Laconia State School property. I've looked at the Legacy at Laconia website to learn more about what the developers have in mind, And I would say this project holds great promise for the Lakes region, and I am really optimistic it will be of great benefit to the city of Laconia. In the online presentation, Legacy at Laconia states that its vision is to create a first-in-the-world, innovative, all-in-one sustainable village. The details include not only accessible housing for various income levels, but a healthcare component, a public park, and open space for recreation, as well as retail space, all incorporating the concept of universal design. I find this proposal very exciting. However, one element that I found missing in the Legacy at Laconia presentation has to do with infrastructure, energy types, and building materials. In these times, the words innovative and sustainable should indicate the use of low carbon emitting materials for both roads and building construction, and renewable energy sources for heating and cooling, as well as vehicle charging and powering maintenance equipment. More specifically, new residences will increase the demand for electric power overall in the area. That demand may increase further as we electrify the country and with the adoption of electric vehicles and heat pumps for heating and cooling. Therefore, it is in the city's interest and in the interest of future residents of Legacy at Laconia to incorporate plans for providing that power sustainably, either with solar power on buildings within the development or by adding solar power elsewhere nearby to offset the new power demand. The cost of renewable energy and energy storage has historically been an issue. In addition to the fact that these costs have come down sustainably over time since these arguments were initially voiced, the Inflation Reduction Act provides federal subsidies of 30% or more of the costs of these innovations. That means the payback time for including these renewable energy sources in the plans is very short. Clearly, this approach is much cheaper to implement in the initial build as opposed to retrofitting. I would hope the developers are aware of these options, and I wonder if they have shown a willingness to take advantage of these benefits. The buildings at Legacy at Laconia will be with us for hundreds of years, the typical lifespan of buildings. Our energy landscape is changing rapidly, and it makes sense to plan now for a future where heavy reliance on fossil fuels can't be taken for granted, and renewable energy technologies will be in the forefront. This is an opportunity to make sure this development is a win for the city of Laconia and for future residents by keeping that future in mind at the outset. Now, perhaps these innovations are already part of the plan and just not articulated on the website. I would hope that the state of New Hampshire and the city of Laconia will insist that an ambitious and innovative project of this magnitude reflects the reality of the times and takes into account the state's future by ensuring that those descriptors, innovative and sustainable, do indeed define the Legacy at Laconia project by including sustainable infrastructure and energy sourcing. Thank you.
Thank you very much for taking time to share that. Do you have a copy that you could leave behind of what you read?
It's pretty scribbled. I would be happy to send you one.
That'd be great, and we can I think there's included an awful lot there, and if you don't mind, maybe we can forward a copy along to the developers themselves.
Oh, that would be
of that,
wonderful.
if that's okay, and
Yes.
probably something that I'll forward along to the fellow councilors here, just to, so
All
they
right, I
go
would
back
be
and
happy
review
to do that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak to matters not on the agenda? Okay. Moving along to agenda item number 13. Agenda 13A specifically is a public hearing on Resolution 2024-02, request to authorize the city manager to apply for and accept Invest New Hampshire NH demolition grant for 11 Jameson Street. This public hearing was made available, notice of it, in the February 15th, 2024 edition of Laconia Daily Sun, posted at Laconia City Hall, Laconia Community Center, the Public Library, and the offices of the SAU. Action on this item may be taken up under unfinished business later on this evening. So I'd like to open the public hearing at 7:20 PM, and if anyone would like to speak to it, now would be the appropriate time. Welcome, Carmen.
Hi, good evening. My name's Carmen Lorenz. I'm the Executive Director at Lakes Region Community Developers. I just wanted to let the council know that I'm here if you have any questions about our project at 11 Jameson Street. In a nutshell, it's conversion of a single-family home into 3 small one-bedroom apartments that will be supportive housing in partnership with Lakes Region Community Services. So, happy to answer any.
Could you describe supportive services?
Supportive housing is, so they'll.
Supportive housing, right?
Yeah, there'll be apartments. The individuals living there will have a lease, just like any other tenants of ours. They will receive supportive services from Lakes Region Community Services. And I do have Becky Bryant here, who's the
Sure.
president and CEO of LRCS, if you have any questions about the services that tenants
That'd
would
be terrific.
be receiving.
Thank you, Carmen. Welcome, Becky.
Hi, thank you.
Maybe just flesh out a little bit what the services look like.
Sure, supportive services or supportive housing is housing to maintain the greatest level of independence for individuals that experience a developmental disability or an acquired brain disorder. And those services include that they're already clients of Lakes Region Community Services. They receive case management, something called supported independent living. So those are services to allow them to maintain, be good tenants, learn how to go budget, make sure they pay their rent, make sure they do their grocery shopping, keep their apartment clean. Trying to avoid the high eviction rate of individuals that just jump to independent living and don't have those supports in order to maintain that independent living.
Terrific. Right now, where do these potential tenants, where do they live now?
That's a great question. So we look at residential services on a continuum. And so really the continuum is missing a few pieces, supportive housing being a big one that Carmen and I have been trying to pull off for
4 years.
at least 4 years. So you either, you leave high school and not typical neurotypical or neurodivergent children doesn't matter. When you leave and exit high school, you're thinking about what comes next. Where could I go? I want to get out of my family's home. If an individual experiences a high level of developmental disability, typically they end up staying living at home, or you jump to supported, it's basically adult foster care. We call it shared family living, where you actually live with another family. That model worked for many years after the closing of the state school, when natural families weren't present with their children. But today, really, you've already got a natural family. You're not looking for another family, and you're not looking for a 24/7 community residence, otherwise known as a group home. So currently, those are their choices. And we also find a big population throughout the city of what we kind of refer to as couch surfers, where they've tried to leave the home, again, not unlike a neurotypical child. They leave the home, they're not successful, they've been evicted from housing, they're hanging out with friends, and this gives us the opportunity to provide another model where they have those supports in place to be successful.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the work you're doing. Great.
Great, thank you. Thanks.
Anyone else like to speak to this matter? So I'd like to close the public hearing at 7:23 PM. Again, we may take this up under unfinished business later on this evening. Agenda item 13B, which is a public hearing for the Community Development Block Grant relating to the progress of and proposed change to the Lakes Region Community Development Developers Project for 11 Jameson Street. Notice of this public hearing is made available in the February 15th, 2024 edition of the Laconia Daily Sun and the New Hampshire Union Leader, and posted at Laconia City Hall, Laconia Community Center, Laconia Public Library, and the offices of the SAU. Action on this item may be taken up under unfinished business this evening as well. I'd like to open the public hearing on this matter at 7:24 PM. If anyone would like to speak to it, now would be the appropriate time. Welcome.
Good evening. Donna Lane, CDBG consultant, and I have to read to you, and I apologize, but this is how
Been
this goes.
looking forward to it all night.
I'm sure you have. Ready? Community Development Block Grants, CDBG funds are available to municipalities through the New Hampshire Community Development Finance Authority. Up to $500,000 annually is available for economic development projects up to $500,000 for housing projects, up to $500,000 for public facility projects, up to $350,000 in emergency funds, and up to $25,000 per planning study grant. All projects must directly benefit a majority of low and moderate income persons. So the city was awarded $170,000 CDBG for the Lakes Region Community Developers Project to acquire 11 Jameson Street for the intent to renovate the house into an affordable rental unit. We kind of talked about this a second ago. So Lakes Region Community Developers believes that the site would be better suited to contain 3 units of supportive housing instead of being a single-family home, especially where it's located in the middle of all their other properties and stuff. Additional funding would have been required for the supportive housing option, and those funds have been awarded by New Hampshire Housing Finance Authority. Lakes Region Community Developers is requesting a change of the use of the project from a single-family rental to 3 units of supportive housing. They've worked on permits and all that stuff. This is to see if you are willing to ask CDBG if we can do 3 units of supportive housing rather than to do one single-family home. And as to the current progress of the project, CDBG funds were used towards the acquisition of the property in May 23. Lakes Region Community Developers will be making the required renovations to the building with an anticipated completion date of August 25. Any questions or comments on this?
Thank you, Donna. Anyone else like to speak to this matter during the public hearing? Seeing none, I'd like to close the public hearing at 7:26 PM. We'll move on to agenda item number 13C. This public hearing is a community development block grant relating to the progress of the Boys and Girls Club Energy Improvements Project at 876 North Main Street. Notice of this public hearing is made available in the February 15th edition of the Laconia Daily Sun and the New Hampshire Union Leader, and posted at Laconia City Hall, Community Center, Laconia Public Library, and the offices of the SAU. Action on this item may be taken up under unfinished business. I'd like to open the public hearing at 7:26 PM.
I'm back.
All right.
So as you can tell, when we do CDBG, we have a public hearing before we request funds. We did that last month for the Boys and Girls Club on a different project. And then we have to do a progress public hearing. So we're doing that one for 11 Jameson and the request for change. And so we're gonna do the Boys and Girls Club over at, their progress update over at 876 North Main Street. So this is they were awarded 553,000 CDBG. And the project there is the replacement of the windows, improved ventilation, and right now the windows are 80% replaced in the main building, and the heating system will be changed over to gas in the spring. And this is supposed to be done by the fall of '24, all the work over there. Any questions or comments on that project?
Seeing none, thank you, Donna. Anyone else like to speak to this matter? Seeing none, I'd like to close the public hearing at 7:27 PM. Stacy, since you're not a regular here, if there's something that we're racing, that I'm racing over, just raise your hand and I'll slow it down. I'm happy to, okay? Yeah. Agenda item number 13D. It's a public hearing on Resolution 2024-06, acceptance of unanticipated funds from the Grace C. Smith Revocable Trust. Notice of this public hearing is made available in the February 15, 2024 edition of the Laconia Daily Sun, posted at Laconia City Hall, Laconia Community Center, Laconia Public Library, offices of the SAU. Action on this item may be taken up under unfinished business this evening. I'd like to open the public hearing on this matter at 7:28 and 42 seconds. If you'd like to speak to it, now would be the appropriate time. I'd like to close the public hearing on this matter at 7:29 PM. Agenda item number 13E, which is a public hearing on Resolution 2024-03, Veterans Tax Credit for Service-Connected Total Disability. Notice of this public hearing was made available in the February 15, 2024 edition of the Laconia Daily Sun, and posted at Laconia City Hall, Laconia Community Center, Laconia Public Library, and the offices of the SAU. Once again, action on this item may be taken up under unfinished business this evening. I'd like to open the public hearing on this matter at 7:29 PM, and if anyone would like to speak to this, now would be the appropriate time. Hello.
Hi. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name-
Evening. It's not morning. We're not going that long.
We're not going to go that long?
I hope not.
Shucks. Good evening. My name is Richard Cody. I've been a citizen of the city of Laconia since 1972, homeowner since 1977. Been a disabled veteran since 2018. And you're looking at me thinking, what? It looks better than we do. But you heard all those advertisements about Camp Lejeune, and I'm one of the victims. We got leukemia because of my service there, and I'm not saying that to get sympathy. I just want you to know how grateful I am for the tax credit that Laconia has offered veterans for since 2004. I believe has been the $2,000 credit. But as you know, with inflation, the credit is here, taxes are here, and then as our taxes go up, the credit influence diminishes. So if you would grant the $3,000 credit, I think it would get us back to, I don't know about even, but thank you very much. But my main concern is not for me. If I were to predecease my wife, she would really need that assistance. So thank you so much and for considering this this evening.
Thank you for your service. And I'm sorry to hear about your illness, and
Could be worse.
anyone else? I'd like to close the public hearing at 7:31 p.m. Agenda item number 13F. Public hearing, Resolution 2024-04, acceptance of an award in the amount of $13,888.88 from the Department of Safety Homeland Security Grant Program for the purchase of SWAT SOU equipment for the Laconia Police Department. Notice of this public hearing was made available in the February 15th, 2024 edition of the Laconia Daily Sun, posted at Laconia City Hall, Laconia Community Center, Laconia Public Library, and the offices of the SAU. Action on this item may be taken up under unfinished business this evening. I'd like to open the public hearing at 7:32 p.m. If anyone would like to speak to this, now would be the appropriate time. Seeing none, I'd like to close the public hearing at 7:32 p.m. Agenda item number 13G, which is public hearing for Resolution 2024-05, acceptance of a 2024 New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services Exotic Aquatic Plant Control Grant. Notice of this public hearing was made available in the February 15th, 2024 edition of the Laconia Daily Sun and posted at Laconia City Hall, Laconia Community Center, Laconia Public Library, and the offices of the SAU. Once again, action on this item may be taken up under unfinished business. I'd like to open the public hearing on this matter at 7:33 p.m. If anyone would like to speak to that, now would be the appropriate time. I'd like to close the public hearing at 7:33 p.m. on this matter. Moving right along to agenda item number 15. On the mayor's report, I just wanted to share with all of you, as one of the 13 mayors in the state, excuse me, pass that out. I signed on to a couple letters in support of legislation that I wanted to share with you. Just to make sure that you're aware of it, the first one is HB 1254, which is supporting the local option for public safety assessment. This is enabling legislation, HB 1254, which allows communities to impose up to a $2 per night, per room surcharge, if you will, at hotels and motels, and then take that money and use it to help offset the public safety expenses associated with an increase in travel and tourism in a community. Now, this is enabling. It would have to be, well, first of all, it's got to get out of the legislature and be signed by the governor. If it does that, then it would come to municipalities to make a determination as to whether they would like to assess this surcharge. This issue goes back quite some time with various communities that have significant increases in their population, either for stretches of time or daily travelers, daily vacationers, and the increase in particularly police costs in any community increases significantly, yet what is used to offset that may be a rooms and meals tax disbursement, which is handed out in such a way that it doesn't make accommodations to those municipalities who have increased costs associated with travel and tourism. I don't know where that bill goes, tell you the truth, but it's a topic of discussion during every budget cycle session and will be for this one as well. So that let me finish. I'm happy to call you when I finish, okay? Second one is the SB 406, which is the Emergency Housing Assistant and State and Local Partnership. This has to do with the fact that municipalities increase costs or welfare expenses in the housing, particularly with the terming out of so many of the federal funds right now. There's been a significant increase across the board to the 13 cities within the state and handing out public assistance. This is a request of the governor through the BEA that if there are any ARPA funds that remain, and to make them available to cities to help offset the increase in their welfare funds, which in some communities, it's really quite dramatic. As one community that budgeted $300,000 for their welfare assistance, and they're up over $1 million already this year. So I don't believe that we are in nearly that shape, but if there is some money available, I thought it might behoove us to at least put our hand up and say we'd like some, we'd wish that they would share them with the city of Laconia. And also, I think it's a good idea to at least have enabling legislation for our communities like Laconia that have significant increases in costs associated with public safety during the high travel and tourism months. That would conclude my remarks. I would be happy to defer and take a question from Councilor Susie.
I just wanted to ask, on the first letter, does that include Airbnb or just motels and hotels?
I think it's just hotels and motels.
Okay.
Quite frankly, I couldn't really tell you whether they're subject to the rooms and meals tax. I think they are, but I'm, yeah.
That's the reason why I asked, sir.
It's a good question, though.
Thank you.
Should be. Should be. All right, that concludes my remarks this evening. I'd look to council comments right now. Councilor Felch.
I have a couple things. First, I want to thank the Laconia Fire Department and the Department of Corrections for getting together and painting the Weirs Fire Station apparatus bay that hadn't been done for about 40 years. So thank you to both of them. Also, I want to let people know that the 16th annual Robbie Mills Pool Tournament is coming up on March 9th, and that's to benefit the Boys and Girls Club and the Children's Auction, March 9th at the Winnie Bar and Billiards in Guilford. So, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Councilor Felch. Any other council comments this evening? Councilor Hoffman.
Yeah, in line with the citizens' comments earlier, I guess I just wanted, I'd like to see the city have sustainability and decarbonization goals for city-owned buildings. I know we're about to be in the process of master planning, and I just wanted to iterate that I think that that's an important part of the master planning process for the future of the city, is having goals to achieve decarbonization of city-owned buildings and public buildings.
So noted. Any other council comments? How about committee reports? How about liaison reports? Okay. I'll move right on to agenda item number 19, which is citizens' request to comment on current agenda items. If you'd like to speak to something that's on the agenda, maybe coming up under new or unfinished business, now would be the appropriate time. Welcome.
Mary Ann Pamilia, I'm a resident of Laconia.
Nice to have you, Mary Ann. Thanks for coming.
I just really have more of a question about the purchase of the building next to the theater. And my only question is, the concern is, when you purchase this portion of the building, what are the tax implications for the homeowners, property taxes that live in Laconia? In other words, you know, you're paying $800,000 for a portion of the building, so now what about the annual taxes that have to be paid on that portion, and including also maintenance and whatever other expenses of owning that building will be? How does that factor into everybody else's taxes?
That's a good question. I'll take a stab at it right now. So we are looking at a disbursement from the state to the city of Laconia through their Invest NH program, which was $10,000 per unit for affordable housing. So that has been or is in the midst of being constructed right now. So the allocation, the award from the state to the city is $810,000. So it's a one-time disbursement, one-time grant to the city. So instead of purchasing this and bonding it, which would then be included in the city budget, the payments to pay down the bond, whether it be 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 years, which would certainly be reflected in taxes. This one-time disbursement from the federal government to the city has been, at least at this point, earmarked as the potential source of funds for that building purchase.
Okay, but for the purchase?
For the purchase, yes.
But the taxes, to that question.
Sure.
Going forward, owning that building.
There will be, of course, an expense owning that building, absolutely. So one source of funds is the TIF district, the downtown TIF district, which is the tax increment financing, so as you may be familiar with. Renovations, new construction, what percentage goes into the TIF, Kirk?
It's not necessarily a specific percentage.
Okay.
So it's not as easy to answer as that
So
way.
as they develop the front half of the building, the taxes associated with that, a portion of them will go into the downtown TIF, which is used for redevelopment purposes and investing in that particular area, whether it be infrastructure, whether it be to pay off the bond on the Colonial Theater. It's meant to be reinvested right in that local area. So the idea is that the increase in funds going into the TIF because of the development in downtown area will allow at some point to, one, pay maintenance costs associated with it, which we think will be certainly manageable and rather moderate, at least to start. But if there's another council or this council chooses to renovate that and connect it to the theater, there's an anticipation that the TIF funds would be utilized for that, paying off that and any note associated with that or bond. So we think it's a fairly conservative approach at this point, utilizing one-time funds from the state for a one-time expenditure, adding to really the city's biggest investment, certainly in my lifetime, and maybe a lot longer than that, in the Colonial Theater, because it's having the desired impact that we wanted it to on the local economy, and encouraging more growth. But we hope that it's almost self-sustainable by continuing to replenish and build the TIF fund going forward, so that money keeps rolling back into infrastructure and other opportunities. So it is tax money, it is public money, don't get me wrong, but it's not like this was gonna be taken and just immediately shifted onto everyone throughout the city as an offset. So you ask excellent questions there, and certainly something that we, as a council, certainly wrestle with, because the last thing we want to do is do what the state always does, which is just continually downshift expenses onto the property taxpayers. We certainly don't want to do that, and we're trying to find the proper balance. And, you know, we're in that due diligence period as a city as well, and I'm so glad you came forward to ask questions.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else for citizens' request to comment on current agenda items? Okay, let's go to the city manager's report, and I'm happy to stop talking for a while.
I tried to put more public hearings on tonight, but I couldn't find any more to do, so. Just to make a comment about what Councilor Felch said about the painting of the Weirs Fire Station, that was originally quoted multiple times in the last 10 years of upwards of $20,000 to have that done. To say that they did it for, I don't know the exact number that they did it for, to say it was done for a fraction of that cost, couple $100 probably at the most. They did a phenomenal job in getting the correctional facility up there. They were able to get the paint at cost. I mean, they did a really nice job of getting that done, so much different than what we originally thought. Before I get into my regular report, I did make a reappointment to the Board of Assessors. It's one of my appointments, Leonard Minor. He served on the board for a little over 10 years now. He's the chair of the board. He was up for reappointment, so he's been reappointed. You have two documents with you tonight. The projects update, and I'm just gonna go through. I'm not gonna read each one of them. It's in your packet. It'll be part of the minutes, but I just hit a couple of high points. You'll see some work being done here in April on the Church Street Bridge. They have a joint replacement that needs to be done. That won't close the bridge. It'll be one lane kept open at a time, so certainly at times there'll be a little disruption, but it won't be crazy. The Academy Street Bridge project is moving along well. They have all the easements now that they need. This is gonna be late June through August closure, and as we talked about last meeting, we will make sure that there's plenty of notifications, plenty of updates, and we'll have good communication for all of our residents and then for our emergency services as well. The Centenary Ave Bridge is continuing along with their update and their, what the state is looking to do. There is gonna be a public input session on May 16th at 6 PM, and I apologize, I'm gonna look over to Wes to see if he knows where it's gonna be located. I will get that in the next report. I noticed it as I was reading it late today that I didn't put that in there, so, but that will be coming forward as well. Skipping over to the next page, page 3. There is a lot of continuing work going on, and we've discussed it on a few different occasions on Elm Street project. There is going to be new road construction, drainage, water mains going in. We won't be looking to fund that until FY '26, so we're not working on that now. But it is stuff that we are certainly working for and looking towards the future on taking care of that. So there's a lot of estimates out there for cost, but we're still looking at a year and a half out, so way too early to be really understanding of what the cost is gonna be. There is an update to the O-Pee-Chee Loop. We've been working with a Northern Borders grant, as well as with the folks from the WOW Trail, in trying to upgrade Elm Street through to about the Franklin Street area. So incorporating the WOW Trail with some park-type areas at limited cost to the city. Unfortunately, we're on, I don't know what version we're on of this plan, but we're continuing to work through that. We have some private funding that is looking to work with us. And Public Works Department has been meeting with them more than weekly on trying to get this to go through. We're finalizing some funding now, so that is continuing on, and It looks like it's gonna be really nice when it's all finished. We're just hammering out the final details, and I know Council Felch has met with us out there, at least on a couple of occasions, to see what the project's gonna look like and have some council support that way. Winnipesaukee River Basin Project, Director Anderson sits on their board and has brought back that they're looking at their next biennium. So FY 26 and 27, they're going to be looking at 12 to 15% increase in their budgets, starting in FY 26. So we know that a lot of that ties into our sanitary sewer fund, and we've, we're being good advocates. I know Wes is being a good advocate there for controlling that spending down to, manageable. We know that we took quite a hit in the current biennium that they're in now, and what we had to do to make it work with the SSF, and we'll continue to do that moving forward. Under the sewer collection system, just make a note to the second paragraph. On February 28th, Public Works Committee is going to be meeting. One of the things on their docket, and I really don't have any update for you other than to say on their docket is we've got requests from a couple of different communities that want to tie into our sewage system, and it gets very complicated at best. It gets complicated. We did have an opportunity to do it with a project already, and we weren't able to close the deal on it. We weren't able to make it happen because of RSAs and the complication that happens. Water's a lot easier, sewer's not. So we'll open it up when we talk to the committee, and they'll hear everything, and we'll have a report to bring back to the full council, but I just wanted to keep everybody aware that that was going to be happening. The last thing I have is on the last page, last of the projects update is, I think everybody saw, but I wanted to make sure we were continuing this update. The Laconia State School is from the Governor and Council, says that it's going to close on March 13th, and that was from their last meeting, so that's as solid of a date as we've had since this has started coming out of them, so we'll see what happens. And certainly our team in the city has been talking more on individually with me and the team, but we'll be pulling them together, and we'll be we're setting up dates to meet regularly, not just with Legacy, but with us internally to make sure all of our needs are being met as well. The second document you have is the monthly economic development report. You'll see that our unemployment rate is staying right around 2.8%. It's been pretty consistent, and the ratios between where we stand with the county and the state that's pretty standard for us right now. And we have our first CPI number for the next year already, and it's at 3.1% through January. And just as a reminder, we did annualize out last year at 4.1%.
Any questions for the city manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Kurt, with all the activity that's going to go up on Old Prescott Road, I have a request since the traffic pattern has turned, they would like to have the look at the lighting as far as street lighting is concerned. I don't think there's much out there, and there was a concern that came to me about during the school season that they have a school bus that picks up kids at the corner of Briarcrest and Old Prescott Road, and they thought a street light would be appropriate.
We'll take a look at it.
And I understand everything that goes through.
Yeah, no, but we
request
can
for a
take a look. We
street
can
light.
take a look at that, and
With all the construction and everything going on up there, appreciate it if they'd take, I think Wes looks at it, if the Public Works Director would look at it.
He will take a look at it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other questions for the city manager? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to agenda item number 21, which is new business. We have a fair amount of work ahead of us here under new business and unfinished business, so we'll, again, Stacy, slow me down if I'm going too quickly here or something I don't make clear. 21A, which is the request to appoint Glenn Smith to the Lakes Business Park Commission. As we know, the Lakes Business Park Commission is comprised of representatives from both the City of Laconia, Town of Guilford. Due to the passing of our friend Frank Tilton, it is now necessary to name his replacement so we can ensure a quorum at commission meetings. The city's finance director, Glenn Smith, has agreed to serve on that commission. Thank you, Glenn. And so right now, we're looking for a motion to move to appoint Glenn Smith to the Lakes Business Park Association. So made by Counselor Cheney, seconded by Counselor Susie. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. 6 votes in the affirmative, and that motion passes. Agenda item number 21B, request by Concord Hospital Laconia for the use of the Memorial Tennis Pickleball Court for a fundraiser event. Concord Hospital Laconia has requested the use of Memorial Tennis Pickleball Court on July 21st, 2024 for a fundraiser event. Concord Hospital Laconia is the benefactor of the event. City Council approval is being requested because the event is anticipating revenues above $2,000. There's no direct cost to the city. Liza Kelleher has made a recommendation that this request be approved. The Parks and Recreation Commission has approved this request, conditioned upon further approval from the City Council. Right now, I'm looking for a motion to move to approve the request from Concord Hospital Laconia to hold a fundraiser event at the Memorial Tennis Pickleball Court, July 21st, 2024, with a July 28th, 2024 rain date. So made,
Could I ask a question before we,
you could, yeah, sure.
is there a fee involved in this normally?
I can answer that. Yeah, Parks and Rec charges a fee.
But can they waive it for this?
It's already been through Parks and Rec, so I would say
So
not.
that kills that. It just seems like it's the sort of thing that,
So
No,
your
and they look
so
at
your
those-
question is, should it be waived future on similar events?
They do look at that, and I don't remember, they might have actually went a little lower than they normally do, but
Because the rest.
they do waive them on certain charity events, and actually they have their rates, they have a lower rate for charity events, so.
thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Of course. So, Counselor Haynes has made a motion, seconded by Counselor Bogert. Is there any further discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. 6 votes in the affirmative, that motion passes. Moving on to agenda item 21C, which is the potential purchase by the City of Laconia of a portion of 601 Main Street in Laconia. Had a brief discussion of it earlier this evening, but I'll read the more formal notice. The City of Laconia is looking to purchase a portion of 601 Main Street using Invest NH money received as part of the municipal per unit program managed by New Hampshire Department of Economic Affairs. The portion of the building that the city is looking to purchase would be the back 2/3 of the building. The long-term plan is to complete future renovations that would integrate this space with the Colonial Theater. The front 1/3 of the building would be bought privately for use as a restaurant. I'd suggest that the back half is still sort of open as to what we would do with it, whether it be renovated or subdivided. Fiscal impact, up to $800,000 to purchase and separate the 2 portions of the building. This will be fully funded using one-time funds from the Invest NH per unit funding received, well, it's been voted on by the governor and council and should be received by the city in fairly short order.
Correct. We do not have it in hand, check in hand yet, but it has been approved through GNC, and we're just waiting now.
So we're recommending right now that a public hearing of March 11th, 2024, to receive public feedback on this and public comments. Right now, I'll be looking for a motion to schedule a public hearing on March 11th, 2024, during the regular city council meeting to gather public input prior to any action being taken on the potential purchase by the City of Laconia of a portion of 601 Main Street, Laconia. So made by Counselor Susie, seconded by Counselor Haynes. Is there any further discussion on this motion? Counselor Cheney.
Mr. Mayor, I spoke briefly with the manager last week about my concern that before we have a public hearing, we should have a much more detailed review of the building's systems and costs, potential costs associated with either repairing the building or adding or subtracting systems before we go to a public hearing. And the other thing I'd like to see, which I think would take more than waiting till March, couldn't be done by March 11th, I may be wrong, is projected cost to build out the building. I understand we don't have any definitive plans, but we certainly could have some idea of what a future plan might look like and what the dollar amount might be. I understand it comes from a TIF, but that's still, you know, money that somebody has to come up with. And I think before we go to a public hearing, we ought to have those numbers, or at least some estimates. I'm sorry.
No, I'm waiting
The
for
manager suggested to me that he didn't think he could get it done by March 11th. Therefore, I'm asking that the public hearing be postponed at least to the following meeting. And frankly, I'd like it postponed pending the receipt of that information, assuming other counselors might feel the same. Thank you.
So it seems to me to be appropriate in order for, I mean, there's a motion and a second. You're requesting that maybe the motion be withdrawn and that this was premature. So we would put this off indefinitely until, for your sake, and I just want to make sure I characterize it correctly, until you get the information so you can make a fully informed decision on a vote before it gets to public hearing, and the public can as well.
And I do feel that way, but I would like some sense from the rest of the council. I don't want to be holding this up if 5 other guys are going, no, let's get this done on the 11th.
Right,
yes.
but I also want to find a way to accommodate you if possible, because you're expressing some concerns.
Yep.
That may make perfect sense to the public as well, and they may want that information. So I think time is of the essence here, but I don't want to rush it to make a mistake as well.
And I understand that. I would ask the manager to move it as expeditiously as possible. Do you have any idea how long this might take?
I don't think the building review would take very long to come up with a full set of, not a full set of plans, but enough plans for you to make a solid dollar figure. I think we've seen in the past that if we have too little in the plans, the dollar figure is really inadequate. The building review, I think I can do relatively quickly. I don't know how long it's gonna be up to the companies that's gonna be helping us do it to be able to tell us how long it's gonna take to get plans done.
Do you think it would be reasonable to suggest a second meeting of March?
I think I can do my best to try to get it done.
Which would be which date would that be?
The 25th.
So I guess I would ask to amend the motion to March 25th rather than March 11th.
So motion was moved by Counselor Susie. Would you consider that as a friendly amendment to the motion?
I would, but I also had a question on what Councilor Cheney was talking about.
Let's get the motion done.
No,
This is the time to talk about it.
Chicken. Go ahead.
You do this to me all the time.
Let's figure it out.
You do this to me all the time.
No, say the question and we'll figure it out.
I just want to was what Councilor Cheney's asking for. We buy the antique center. We know we're gonna, are you talking about the rest of what has all been talked about?
Yes.
To add into all the rest of the theater work, all that other stuff, that's what you're asking for?
And if I may, Mr. Mayor, I'm totally amenable to the explanation that it's to improve what the theater can do and increase its ability. But I also want to know what we're talking about for dollars to get there, and is it worth it?
And so, in other words, if we do the building, we're also committing to the rest of it, in a
At some
way.
point, yes.
Right, okay. So, Mr. Mayor, my motion, I will
Amend
remove
it?
amend it to go to the second week of, the second meeting of March at this point. And if the city manager comes back to us and says we need a little bit longer, until the city manager is ready, we hold off the public hearing.
Okay. So
Counselor
friendly
Phelps
amendment, so
has
who
it.
was the second on that?
Councilor Felch was it?
Counselor Fel-
No,
Haynes was, okay. All right. So we've got an amendment to the 25th. Would you make a second on the 25th?
Okay, but I'm at the point where we just can't keep kicking the can down the road. I understand Councilor Cheney's concern, but I also think that, I'm not sure how quickly things will move on that, so we could be predicting, out 2029, 2030, prices are gonna change, the interest could change, and we could also just say, we just wanna,
My
separate it and.
My only point, Counselor, is.
Finished?
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go
Thank
ahead.
you.
No, that's fine.
My only point is, I would be the first to admit, we can't get, it's gonna cost us $12.85. But maybe we can say it'll be somewhere between $12 and $15. We can't guarantee that, but so that the people have some idea of what those future potential costs
fine.
might be. I just want a little more time
No.
to do that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Counselor Haber and then Counselor Felch.
If I may piggyback on that, I would also want to know about that HVAC system and the mechanics of the building, that we get a report before.
I think that's what I intended.
So the
I'm
HVAC
kind
system.
of
I think-
verbalizing that
Yeah,
to make
okay.
sure the intent was there.
Got it?
I was gonna say, we addressed the HVAC system, and put it back on the onus of the seller.
Go ahead, Counselor Felch.
So I will say I have no problem. I don't want to push it down too far. I'm pretty sure even by 2 weeks, we could probably have most of the numbers for the first part of your question. The second part of your question, in my opinion, with what I've been through in real estate, is impossible. Totally impossible. It could say 4 million, it could say 10 million, it could say 2 million. We don't know exactly what we're gonna do with that back half. And until we do, there's no way we can come up with an accurate figure.
Counselor, I'm not suggesting we need, as I just said, $12.95 is what it's gonna cost. But I think we owe it to the people of Laconia to understand it could be $1 million, it could be $5 million, but some sort of number.
And that's what I'm saying. It could be between 1 million and 10 million.
And then maybe we better come in and say that to folks, so that when they come to the public hearing, they can express support, as I would, assuming a number that I thought was reasonable.
And getting an accurate number will be really hard because nobody's gonna wanna give you bids on things for something
No, I understand that part.
3 or 4 years down the road, but, so I would say 2 weeks, and if he doesn't have a solid number for the second half, we definitely need to move on it.
I think
or
what you're
4
looking
weeks.
for on the back of the building, on the renovation cost, is a range, potential range.
That's it.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think depending on how much is done, I think you could put a hole in the wall, and that may be good enough to start, which would give them more space in that theater, which would be a low-cost way of utilizing the space, but, that's the low end, I would suspect. Or you could just do nothing. You could do nothing.
I mean, it could,
Or
like
you
I
could- Or you
said,
could spend a couple million and build out the dressing rooms as well as a loading dock, things of that nature.
And then you have the
But-
option of subdividing it and making some of that money back and condomizing it, so.
We also may have an opportunity to rent the back space out immediately. Right.
So there's lots of options.
And I'd like to hear that. I
Well, I
don't
think
mean the person, but we've been in negotiations or have a potential to rent the back half or a third or whatever, 2/3. I just would like to give the citizens as much information as we can, and I thought 2 weeks was a little short. That's all I'm asking, is a little more time for the manager to get us as much as he can. A guarantee, I'm not asking for, I don't think they would ask for, but some sort of an idea. I mean, you're gonna add a third floor and put a, luxury apartment in it, or?
We don't know that.
Just gonna, exactly. But you've got some idea.
But
of
like
what
you
you
said,
want.
we could put a wall between the two and do nothing else,
Yeah.
or we could subdivide it and rent out a bunch of the space and cost us millions, but we'll make some of that money back, so.
Didn't we have an estimate from the first round we did with this, that was approximately $4 million to do that area?
That was not a good estimate based, that was, yeah. That was a
thumb.
faulty estimate to the extent that what the scope of work was way more than we were contemplating.
Okay.
So,
So I'd like to move my motion to, in other words.
is that
let's
to call
bring
the
it to-
question right now?
Call the question, please.
So if there's no further discussion, all those in favor of moving the public hearing to March 25th, the city manager seems to have enough information right now to get us more specificity as far as this potential acquisition. So all those in favor of moving to a public hearing on March 25th, please raise your hands. 6 votes in the affirmative, and that motion passes. Thank you. Thank you, Counselor Cheney. Let's move on to our unfinished business. Agenda item number 21A, Resolution 2024-02, request to authorize the city manager to apply for and accept an Invest NH demolition grant for 11 Jamison Street. A request from Lakes Region Community Developers has been received, requesting the city to apply for an Invest NH demolition grant in the amount of up to $50,000 for the demolition work that is needed to convert 11 Jamison Street from a single-family residence into a 3-bedroom supportive housing building. The grant must be applied for by the local municipality, as we've heard. The conversion was approved at the December 5th, 2023 Planning Board meeting. At the February 12th, 2024 City Council meeting, a motion was approved to schedule the public hearing, which was earlier this evening. Right now, we're looking for a series of 3 motions. The first is to move to waive a reading of the Resolution 2024-02 in its entirety to read by title only, so made by Counselor Cheney, seconded by Counselor Haynes. Any further discussion? And seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. 6 votes in the affirmative, that motion passes. Second, we're looking for a motion to move a second reading of Resolution 2024-02 regarding a request to authorize the city manager to apply for and accept an Invest NH demolition grant for an amount up to $50,000 for 11 Jamison Street demolition work. So made by Counselor Felch, seconded by Counselor Cheney. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. 6 votes in the affirmative. That motion passes. And finally, on this matter, looking for a motion to approve Resolution 2024-02, a request to authorize the city manager to apply for and accept Invest NH demolition grant for an amount up to $50,000 for 11 Jamison Street demolition work, and further authorize the city manager to sign all documents related to this grant. So made by Counselor Felch, seconded by Counselor Haynes. Is there any further discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. 6 votes in the affirmative, and that motion passes. Item number 22B, Community Development Block Grant relating to the progress of and proposed change to the Lakes Region Community Developers Project for 11 Jamison Street. City was awarded $170,000 for a $170,000 CDBG for the Lakes Region Community Developers Project to acquire 11 Jamison Street for the intent to renovate the house into an affordable rental unit. Community Developers believes the site would be better suited to contain 3 units of supportive housing. Instead, additional funding would be required for the supportive housing option, and those funds have been awarded by New Hampshire Housing Finance Authority. Community Developers is requesting a change in the use of the project from a single-family rental up to 3 units of supportive housing. City permits have previously been obtained. As to the current progress of the project, CDBG funds were used towards the acquisition of the property in May 2023. Lakes Region Community Developers will be making required renovations to the building with an anticipated completion date of August 2025. The February 12th, 2024 City Council meeting, a motion was approved to schedule a public hearing on this matter. The public hearing was held earlier this evening. Right now, I'd be looking for a motion to approve the change of use for the Lakes Region Community Developers 11 Jameson Street CDBG grant project from a single-family unit to 3 units of supportive housing. So made by Counselor Felch, seconded by Counselor Cheney. Is there any further discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. That's 6 votes in the affirmative. That motion passes. Item number 22.
Mr. Mayor, this one, she's already given you the report. She did it under the public hearing. All this was if she's not even here anymore. If Donna
This was-
hadn't done
This was
the
just a
update-
progress report. There's no
Yeah, if
motion,
she didn't do
right?
it then, she could have done it now.
Okay, all right, that project's going along swimmingly. All right,
Progress noted.
yes. Agenda item 22D, Resolution 2024-06, acceptance of unanticipated funds from the Grace C. Smith Revocable Trust. Laconia Fire and Police Departments have been named in the Revocable Trust of Grace C. Smith to receive funds to benefit those in need within the city of Laconia. And though we've been through it, let me just, one more time for the record, from the trust, 1 share, this is a quote from the trust, 1 share shall be distributed outright, free and clear of trust to the Laconia Police Department of Laconia, New Hampshire, to be held in trust and used for the benefit of children and their families in need of food, shelter, and clothing. Going on, the other share shall be distributed outright, free and clear of trust to the Laconia Fire Department, Ambulance Service of Laconia, New Hampshire, to be held in trust and used for the benefit of individuals with medical insurance who have received medical transport but cannot pay their copay for transport services received from the Laconia Fire Department Ambulance Service. The total amount received will be up to $300,000. The city manager and city finance director will intend to work with the fire and police chiefs to set up separate funds for receiving the money and a plan for distribution based on the language in the revocable trust. This will be presented during the February 26th meeting. The February 12th City Council meeting, a motion was approved to schedule the public hearing, which was earlier this evening. There's no fiscal impact on the city. Right now, I'm looking for a motion to waive a reading of Resolution 2024-06 in its entirety and to read by title only, so made by Counselor Cheney, seconded by Counselor Haynes. Is there any further discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. 6 votes in the affirmative, that motion passes. Next, looking for a motion to move a second reading of Resolution 2024-06 relative to acceptance of unanticipated funds from the Grace C. Smith Revocable Trust. So made by Counselor Felch, seconded by Counselor Susie. Any further discussion on this matter? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. 6 votes in the affirmative, that motion passes. And finally, on this matter, looking to a motion to move to approve Resolution 2024-06, acceptance of unanticipated funds from the Grace C. Smith Revocable Trust. So made by Counselor Felch, seconded by Counselor Cheney. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. 6 votes in the affirmative, and that motion passes. Under item number 22E, Resolution 2024-03, Veterans Tax Credit for Service-Connected Total Disability. Currently, the City of Laconia's Disabled Veterans or Widow of Disabled Veterans Tax Credit allows for $2,000, a credit of $2,000. The requirements are the disability must be total and permanent service-connected injury, regardless of date served. Property must be the principal place of abode. Owner of the property on April 1st of each application year. Apply with a copy of letter from Veterans Administration certifying 100% total and permanent disability. Per RSA, New Hampshire RSA 72:35, a municipality may offer up to $4,000 in tax credits for 100% disabled veterans with a permanent disability. The February 12th, 2024 City Council meeting, a motion was approved to schedule the public hearing, which we heard earlier this evening. Currently, the City of Laconia has 47 veterans who qualify for this credit. Increasing this credit to $3,000 would result in an additional $47,000 in tax credits. Right now, we have a series of 3 motions on this. First one is to move to waive a reading of Resolution 2024-03, Veterans Tax Credit for Service-Connected Total Disability in its entirety and to read by title only. So made by Counselor Cheney, seconded by Counselor Susie. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. 6 votes in the affirmative, that motion passes. Next, looking for a motion to move a second reading of Resolution 2024-03, Veterans Tax Credit for Service-Connected Total Disability. So made by Counselor Phelps, seconded by Counselor Cheney. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. 6 votes in the affirmative, and that motion passes. Finally, on this matter, looking for a motion to move to approve Resolution 2024-03, Veterans Tax Credit for Service-Connected Total Disability. So made by Counselor Cheney, seconded by Counselor Susie. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. That's 6 votes in the affirmative. That motion passes. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Semper Fi.
Right back at you.
Agenda item 22F, Resolution 2024-04, relative to acceptance of an award in the amount of $13,888.88 from the Department of Safety Homeland Security Grant Program for the purchase of SWAT SOU equipment for the Laconia Police Department. The city has applied to the New Hampshire Department of Safety for grant funding in the amount of $13,888.88 to purchase SWAT SOU equipment through the Homeland Security Grant Program. The February 12, 2024 City Council meeting, a motion was approved to schedule a public hearing on this matter. That public hearing is held earlier this evening. The entire cost of the equipment is covered by the Homeland Security, so there is no local match requirement. Right now, looking for a series of 3 motions. The first is to move to waive a reading of Resolution 2024-04 in its entirety and to read by title only. So made by Counselor Cheney, seconded by Counselor Haynes. Is there any further discussion on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. 6 votes in the affirmative, that motion passes. Next, we're looking for a motion to move a second reading of Resolution 2024-04 relative to acceptance of an award in the amount of $13,888.88 from the Department of Homeland Security Grant Program for the purchase of SWAT SOU equipment for the Laconia Police Department. So made by Counselor Cheney, seconded by Counselor Susie. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. That's 6 votes in the affirmative, that motion passes. Finally, on this matter, we're looking for a motion to move to approve Resolution 2024-04 relative to the acceptance of an award in the amount of $13,888.88 from the Department of Homeland Security Grant Program for the purchase of SWAT SOU equipment for the Laconia Police Department to authorize the city manager to sign all documents related to this grant. So made by Counselor Haynes, seconded by Counselor Bogert. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. That's 6 votes in the affirmative, and that motion passes as well. Moving on to item number 22G, acceptance of a 2024 New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services Exotic Aquatic Plant Control Grant. DES, New Hampshire DES Exotic Species Program has notified the city of Laconia that it has been awarded a grant to fund up to 50% of project costs for aquatic plant control remediation in Paugus Bay. This project has been awarded in the past. New Hampshire DES works with the city departments to identify locations for plant control to be completed, hires contractors to complete the work, and returns for post-remediation testing. At the February 12th City Council meeting, a motion was approved to schedule the public hearing, which was held earlier this evening. The city's share of this grant is $54,435, which is 50% of the total of the remediation. $45,000 for this purpose has been approved in the fiscal '24 budget. The remainder of the match will come from the administration non-departmental budget. Right now, I'm looking for a motion to waive a reading of Resolution 2024-05 in its entirety to read by title only. So made by Counselor Hoffman, seconded by Counselor Cheney. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. 6 votes in the affirmative on that motion. Next, we're looking for a motion to move a second reading of Resolution 2024-05 relative to the acceptance of a 2024 New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services Exotic Aquatic Plant Control Grant in the amount of $54,435. So made by Counselor Hoffman, seconded by Counselor Susie. Is there any further discussion on this motion? Go right ahead. Oh, look at you. You're trigger happy. Semper Fi. You were dangerous. Right, my goodness. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. Friendly fire. 6 votes in the affirmative, that motion passes. Don't go out with Cheney. 50-50 whether you're coming back. All right, let's, next on this, looking for a motion to move to approve Resolution 2024-05 relative to the acceptance of a 2024 New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services Exotic Aquatic Plant Control Grant in the amount of $54,435, and to authorize the city manager to sign all documents related to this grant. So made by Counselor Haynes, seconded by Counselor Hoffman. Any further discussion on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. It's 6 votes in the affirmative. That motion passes as well. We will not be going into non-public session tonight, huh? Let's give it up. All right. So I'd like to go right ahead.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to compliment the mayor on his speed reading tonight and thank him for getting us out of here at a reasonable hour.
Thank you. I'd like to adjourn the meeting at 8:25.
Thank you.
I don't know if I can second that, but I will.
You better go farther.